Hi, welcome back. As you've seen, Mr. Sonio Richard joins us. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today.
Morning, Chamberlain.
Yeah, quite a number of things happening back home here. We just saw the reports of the unfortunate incident in Adamawa. But then today, let's start with this part. Today, the National Assembly, they will be screening ministerial nominees, the list sent to them by the president. And I know it's a ritual that happens this time whenever you have new government in place, especially the first time. So are you overly optimistic, or you just feel, look, nothing different, just get on with the work and move on? Do you expect anything different?
Well, we are happy that the Federal Executive Council is being constituted, albeit partly, out of at least 36 ministers, because the Constitution made provision that each state of the Federation should have a ministerial slot. So we look forward with optimism that this team would help Mr. President run his government. I do not know, and I do not have to know them individually, but I know a few of them, particularly those in my industry, banking and finance. I know Mr. Waledu, and I know what his capabilities are. And I know Yusuf Tugo, who is the current Nigerian ambassador to Germany. So we'll give them a chance. You can never know the capability of any individual until they are given an assignment. And we're praying that they will steady the ship of statehood.
Does it bother you at all that the ministerial nominees have been nominated without portfolios attached to them? Some people think it's going to make the work of the Senate a bit untidy today.
Well, I had opined and written a lot about the ministerial appointments without portfolio to go to the National Assembly, particularly the Senate. By the time anybody qualifies to be a minister of any country, and I mean of any country, you don't have to be a specialist in that particular field, except some critical and technical ministries. Why do I argue this point? A minister is a generalist that should be able to rely on processes and the analysis of the permanent secretaries, the directors in the ministry, and have an informed judgment. I mean, you can't have a minister that probably comes with his fixed opinion. For me, as a banker, I have my fixed opinion on certain things, whereas some of my colleagues also have their own positions. Ditto in works. If you think because you're an engineer, in works, I mean, different engineers have different approaches. But for a minister, as a generalist, he should be able to have a bird's eye view of policies, implementation, and to do the job. I don't believe that that you must put what we describe as round pegs in round holes. Having said that, submitting ministerial names and attaching a portfolio to it makes it incumbent on the president to stick to those portfolios. What if he wants to reshuffle cabinet? Would he have to go back to say, okay, I'm moving Lagbaja from health, I'm putting it in rural development, and you need further state approval? No, the will of government must flow. The LCM of what I'm saying is, for you to qualify to be a minister, you must be a generalist. You don't have to be technically tied to the specific ministry.
Well, the expectations of this particular set of ministers are going to be very high, given just where we currently are with our economy and, you know, even some of the things that are at hand. This week, it is expected that in Nigeria Labour Congress will be embarking on a protest. We've seen that We've seen their memo go around the country. I think on Wednesdays when they're planning to do that. We've also seen something quite unpalatable happening in Adamawa State, where young people have gone, ransacking a warehouse filled with palliatives, or things that are meant to be palliatives much later, ransacking the warehouses of the State Emergency Management Agency. Some people say this is, perhaps, well, I say foretaste of what is to come if the palliatives do not get to the people on time. So for you, I mean, looking at what we have at hand, one, what are your expectations of the ministers when they are appointed? And maybe I should leave it there first, lest I ask you a double-barrel question.
Well, you've asked me a triple-barrel question now. I'll take them one after the other. We have great expectations. We imagine that the president would be the team leader. You are as strong as the weakest link in a chain. So we expect that the ministers will come with their maturity, they will come with their past experience to deliver to Nigerians. And I'm sure that Mr. President would not spare anyone any moment if they don't deliver, to remove them. So it is incumbent on them to be good representatives of their various states and to really give value to Nigeria. They should not see the office of a minister as being some exalted position where they are down lordship and lord it over other people. They are actually supposed to be servants of the people, because the Bible says, "He who is greatest amongst you shall be your servant." It should not be on high horses, the typical Nigerian big man, "I have arrived." No, this is not the time for grandstanding. This is the time to roll up your sleeves and do the work. It is important that the ministers are given the Riot Act by Mr. President, and everybody in Nigeria now should lead by example. Our country is in a dilemma. Our country is almost at the state of bankruptcy. So you need all the eggheads, you need all the dexterity, and you need all the seriousness. And we need to depart from our past profligacy, we need to depart from our past bad behavior and put our hands on the wheel and don't look back.
Right.
And secondly, on the removal of subsidy,
okay.
And the labor, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, conclude your thoughts.
On the removal of the fuel subsidy, which a lot of analysts consider long overdue, if we had done this, say around 2012, when President General Goodluck Jonathan proposed to remove fuel subsidy, by now we would have gotten over the pains that go with subsidies. In 2012, January, the same NLC went on strike. You remember occupying Nigeria. You see, but some of these things have to be discussed. There has to be parley between government and the union. And the union has to be made to understand that it is in the long run interest of the country that we remove subsidy. But I must qualify here that there should be, on the other side, palliatives and other forms of subsidy to cushion the effect.
So, as someone, pardon me, as somebody who is largely well-versed in the power sector, what kind of questions do you expect from the lawmakers, and how should the country be approaching that sector?
That sector is suffering from insolvency as a result of subsidy in that sector, because our tariff is not cost reflective, and no business can work without taking care of the cost and making some profits. Having said that, the power sector has a lot of challenges. One, the TCN should really be unbundled into the Transmission Service Provider, TSP, and ISO, the Independent Systems Operator, which was licensed as far back as 2014 to operate at different sectors. That makes for efficiency. Secondly, we should also make sure that we implement the eligible customer regime, which makes some high demand customers to use to tap from the transmission and the disco line, I think 330 and 135 and 135. It is very important that we get all those things right. And we also have to introduce mini and smart grids. And we need to also meter very well.
Okay,
it's very important.
When you talk about pricing, it's a thorny issue with Nigerians because time and again, the question of increasing tariff always come up. There's one that the country is still grappling with. I mean, I heard that they've applied to NERC for that approval to come through. Can there ever be appropriate pricing? Now, what is that pricing that we can consider appropriate? Because if they keep increasing these prices, it sounds as though there will be no end to it.
Let's put it this way. What's the alternative to grid electricity? The alternative to grid electricity is your generator. Your cost of fueling your generator either with diesel or with PMS, and also the hazard that go with it. One, pollution, both sound pollution and air pollution. So the real cost of electricity is cost of generation, transmission, distribution, and a margin of profit for the investors. Electricity is like any other product. If you produce pure water, for instance, a bottle of pure water, and it costs you, say, 2 naira to produce, and you are expected to sell at 1 naira 20 kobo, it does not add up. Electricity is not supposed to be free. We take care of different demographic, different income level.
Yeah, but Mr. Uche, we're not asking that it will be free. But I know that we don't have so much time on this segment, but these matters are usually very interesting.
It has to be appropriately priced.
So what is the appropriate pricing then? At what cost? What cost can we call appropriate?
The appropriate pricing is what NERC and the power players, the market participants determine that goes into producing 1 kilowatt hour of power. And it has to do with cost of fueling, cost of transmission, because the transmission company is there to make profit and distribution companies are there to make profit. They have overheads that they have to cover. So there are mechanisms of pricing electricity all over the world. Nigeria is not peculiar in electricity markets. It's an international...
Okay. Even though the charter of service component, they say, look, discos and providers gloss over all of that. And when they only seem to focus on that pricing component, because when they don't provide their service, there's something that's supposed to happen, but that usually doesn't happen, as we've seen over time. But I know this matters, there really never is an end to it. But well, looking forward to having someone who will be in the saddle as a minister who probably will identify and these issues will resonate with, and then get us out of the woods in a manner of speaking in that particular sector. We have to thank you for your time this morning. As always, we appreciate it a lot, Mr. Sonny Iroche. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Berlin, and Malgoya. Nice talking to you.
All right, so we will cross over to a correspondent in a moment, but I believe we'll be right back in just a moment, so stay on with us.